Welcome to T.time on Design for Sustainability. Sustainable design may seem like a modern concept, but its roots run deep and its evolution is rich with insight. Whether you're curious about its development or simply seeking background on sustainable design practices, we invite you to explore our podcast series. The series is inspired by the book Design for Sustainability, a multi-level framework from products to social technical systems by Fabrizio Ceskin from Brunel Design School UK and Idil Gaziolusoy from Aalto University, Finland. Endorsed by the international networks Lens, Cumulus Association and DESIS, this podcast initiative has been developed and organized by Paranel Federal University and Institute Brazil and Design, the Sustainable Design School in France. The idea of the podcast is that we bring life to theory, life through inspiration, experiences, and stories that may fill gaps of knowledge. Today we will combine insights from 3 different continents on the topic of green design and product ecodesign. The roundtable participants of today are Professor Brenda García Parra from Universidad Autónoma Metropolitana, Mexico.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Jun Zhang from Hunan University, China.
Thank you.
And Dr. Mariano Ramirez from University New South Wales, Australia.
Thank you. Good evening.
A warm welcome to all 3 of you. So each speaker will have 5 minutes of presentation time before we start a conversation of today's topic. Let's start with Brenda from Mexico.
Hello, I'm Brenda García Parra, industrial designer and research professor and head of department of the Theory and Processes of Design at Hunan University in Mexico City. Today, I would like to get deeper into what green design implies in the context of Mexico and Latin America, revisiting an older yet very highly useful classification developed by Pauline Match in 1997. This classification reveals that the term green encompasses various shades, reflecting not only different levels of reflection, but also distinct possibilities of action. This distinction is very, very important in understanding complex contexts as those in Latin America. The darkest shade of green reflects a deeper analysis and understanding of environmental, social, and economical implications of a system where sustainable design can be located. The medium shade of green relates to a very important commitment to reduce environmental impact in an ethical and very carefully measured manner, where ecological design, ecodesign can be found. And the light shade of green typically relates to a makeup, just a superficial makeup, where greenwashing is found. In other countries, for instance, these different shades of green might represent an historical evolution, like a progress that would be reinforced a particular vision, a reflective approach, techniques, methodologies, advancing in robust regulations, ultimately expanding to cover more systemic components, not just from their product level, but covering even more and more and more levels in a systemic way and factors, not only environmental, but also social and economic. In such contexts, it is often taken for granted that a light green, a greenwash, light green design, one that incorporate aspects of these greenwashing techniques is basic and it's already overcome, and it's even self-evident that it has been largely superseded. The lesson has been learned and we go further and further. It has been long superseded. The lesson has been learned, and there is a very clear understanding that a more serious and robust approach and proposal should exist. In contrast, in Latin America, while there remains a significant need to expose and educate about greenwashing, that's for sure, both among general consumers and also during the designer training, it can sometimes serve as a strategic entry point to initiate dialogue, right? It is at least an initiate point where we can start to raise awareness and to build conviction. It's a way to gain access, right? And then progressively scale up, strengthen efforts, and promote deeper changes, often despite numerous opposing factors. And these aren't just external challenges. The path toward deeper green is generally optional in our context. It is difficult and it is optional sometimes. This means that the primary driving force becomes an ethical imperative for the designer and the team or the company and even the consumer involved in the decisions. In many areas, cities, and localities in our countries, even basic waste separation is not mandatory. It only happens if there is a strong conviction. This transforms into an action that demands traditional efforts, often perceived as optional or pursued only if there is an immediate economic advantage. This swimming against the current grows more challenging as the shades of green darkens. It often evolves into almost an activist design approach in Latin America mostly, centered on addressing the root causes of complex problems. In these scenarios, key sustainability concepts such as quality of life, development, growth acquire a completely and entirely different meaning. This is especially true when aspects like extreme inequality, insecurity, lack of access to basic health, sanitation, education service, violence are prevalent. Furthermore, it's not merely the complexity of visualization and reconfiguring all systemic aspects of these deep-rooted problems. It's also because in the Latin American context, profound cultural differences shape diverse realities. Consequently, concepts like quality of life, development, growth do not strictly adhere to universal indicators. Much of this has been obscured or even invalidated in peri-urban or rural areas with strong ancestral roots, all in the name of development. Goals focused on growth and development when life is measured differently in other contexts and where priorities diverge cause the same dark green tone to be perceived and understood in a very distinct and different way. In Mexico and Latin America, design as a discipline focused on problem solving demands a serious approach if one truly intends to resolve issues. Simply remaining at the medium green level will never be enough in our context. Yet, starting directly at the deepest level can be incredibly complex, even with all the knowledge, with the methodology, with awareness. Even then, this often makes it necessary to regress or strategically step back to other shades at certain moments. As a result, the green designer's capability won't solely depend on mastering methodologies, concepts, knowledge of materials, life cycle assessment, etc. Also on being assertive thinker about what solving truly signifies in a given context. Therefore, while in my opinion, a good green design should ideally possess a darker shade of green to align as closely as possible with true sustainability, moving beyond mere environmental improvement solutions and addressing the underlying political, social, economic, and cultural roots. It is precisely this inherent complexity that presents as a significant, primarily ethical challenge for the designer. They must then discern the possibilities of navigating between these different shades of green as if on a complex chessboard.
So thank you, Brenda, for your valuable words. Let's move on to Jun from China.
Hi, everyone. Today, I'd like to share a topic of both strategic significance and practical value, how green design serve as a core driver for China's to achieve dual carbon goals. I hope it brings you some insight. I'm the Jun Zhang from Hunan University. Now, I'm charging the Land Sustainable Lab at Hunan University. I also serve as a coordinator of Lens China and a joint coordinator of the DESIS Lab at Hunan University. With 20 years of experience, my work focuses on teaching and research in product service system design, as well as sustainability and social innovation-oriented research and design. First, let's look at the strategic origin of green design in China. As early as 2018, Professor Liu Wenyuan from the Chinese Academy of Science edited the China Green Design Report. That was maybe the first professional annual report in the world, which focusing on the green design, with systematically analyzing the development level of green design across different regions in China, laying a solid academic and practical foundation for the development of green design in our country. Building on that foundation of this report, the connotation of green design in China context has been continuously enriched. It integrates the concept of ecological design and sustainable design in an inclusive manner, not only focusing on the selection of materials with low environmental impact, but also covering the entire life cycle of products from design to scrapping and recycling. Today, it has further extended to the field of social innovation, design, and service design, providing diversified solution for the comprehensive green transformation of China's economy and society. So, why can green design become a key force? Because it is an important engine of new quality productive force, intervening in transformation of production system, mainly from the three dimension, which showed on the screen. Because time limitation, maybe would not explain in detail. Next, just let me examine the positioning of green design in the context of national dual carbon goals. China has clearly put forward the goals of peaking carbon emission before 2030 and achieving carbon neutrality before 2060. This means we need to complete the emission reduction process that once took developed countries a century in just 40 years in China. So big challenge unprecedented in history, which require systematic transformation. Just last year, such expert from the Institute of Resource and Environmental Policy of Development Research Center of the central government, which emphasize to achieve the dual carbon goals, we must take great importance to green design. Drawing on European experience, green design has enormous potential in China, while ensuring product functions, qualities, costs. It achieves carbon reduction across the entire industrial chain and life cycle by optimizing raw materials, improving process, and strengthening recycling. Moreover, it can drive industrial upgrading through positive product design, reshape the industry chain and the supply chain, and even rebuild the industrial system. It can be said that green design is a strategic pillar for China's green transformation and the implementation of the dual carbon goal. When it comes to practice, just like this figure demonstrated, green design supports the dual carbon goal mainly from these four paths. The first one is leading the green and low carbon transformation of industry. The second and third path is promoting the green transformation of consumption and the city. The fourth path is facilitating the green transformation of transportation. Finally, to summarize, from the foundation laid by the China Green Design Report in 2016 to become an engine of new quality productive force, and then supporting the dual carbon goals through above paths, the strategic value of green design has become increasingly prominent. It is not only an innovation in technology and method, but also a key grasp for advancing development and emission reduction in a coordinated manner. In the future, green design will further extend from the single product design to system design, continuing to help China to achieve its simultaneous realization of dual carbon goals and modernization goals. That's all for my sharing. Thank you for your listening.
Okay, thank you, Jun. Most interesting. And we have today our third speaker, Mariano. Please go ahead.
Good evening from Australia. My name is Mariano Ramirez, and I'm Associate Professor and Director of Industrial Design at the University of New South Wales in Sydney. Tonight, I'll be sharing stories of Australian eco-design innovations, ideas that began here and went on to influence the world. I begin by acknowledging the first peoples of Australia as the traditional custodians of the unceded lands on which I speak tonight. I also pay respect to indigenous communities worldwide whose ancestral knowledge continues to guide sustainable practices. My first example of Australian eco-design is the dual flush toilet cistern. Designed in Adelaide by Caroma Industries in 1982, it responded to Australia's reality as the world's driest inhabited continent. The idea was simple: 2 buttons, one for a half flush and one for a full flush. That small act of user choice reduced water use in flushing by about 2/3 without loss of performance. The design was so effective it became a national plumbing requirement and then spread internationally. Today, dual flush toilets are standard in homes, offices, and hotels worldwide thanks to this Australian invention. My second example is polymer banknotes, which are first issued by the Reserve Bank of Australia in 1988. The Australian $10 bill you see here on the left is the world's first polymer banknote. Made from polypropylene film, it included security features such as clear windows, microprinting, holographic elements, and tactile markings. And compared with paper notes, polymer notes last 2 to 4 times longer, they resist dirt and moisture, and are far harder to counterfeit. And because they last longer, fewer reprints are needed, meaning fewer resources are used. And since that first issue almost 40 years ago, polymer banknotes using this pioneering Australian technology have been adopted by central banks in 76 countries. From 1994 to 1997, the Eco-Redesign program was funded by Environment Australia and run at the Centre for Design at the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology. Its goal was to help Australian companies integrate environmental thinking into product development. At the time, global markets were starting to demand better performance in energy, water, and materials in products, and manufacturers needed practical tools to respond. The program drew on European examples, especially the Dutch Ecodesign projects, but it built an Australian model wherein designers are embedded inside companies to test what was visible on real products. And 4 of the outcomes are shown here. The Cambrook Access Kettle was redesigned with double wall insulation and a clearer temperature indicator so people would not waste energy by reboiling. The Dishlex dishwasher was re-engineered to use less energy and water while still cleaning effectively. Blackmore's packaging was redesigned so the sturdy outer jar could be kept in use while only the inner liner was replaced. And Swap Shop tested a take-back system for toner cartridges, allowing them to be refilled and remanufactured. And together these projects show the spirit of Australian eco-redesign, identifying the biggest impacts, designing them out, and making sure the improvements work in everyday life. My last example is the Keep Cup, which was invented in Melbourne in 2007. Most takeaway cups that look like paper are actually lined with plastic and usually end up in landfill. Keep Cup changed that by designing a reusable cup that worked seamlessly with coffee shop routines, so baristas could use it without adjusting how they serve coffee. Keep Cup matched standard espresso sizes and fit neatly under the coffee machine spouts. It had a secure lid and a heat band, making it quick to handle and easy to drink from while on the go. The first version was polypropylene with a silicone band, and later editions included glass with cork, stainless steel with insulation, and copolyester with reusable straws. Parts could also be replaced to extend the life of the cup. Today, Keep Cup is used in more than 75 countries with over 10 million sold. By fitting into existing systems, it helped normalize bring your own habits globally. It proved that reuse can move from niche to mainstream when designers respect both service compatibility as well as the user experience. And that brings us to today. In 2024, the Australian government released its Circular Economy Framework, which emphasizes how design is central to transforming the entire economy. The ambition is to double the circularity of the Australian economy by 2035. And the framework calls for durability, repairability, recyclability, and safe materials, with recovery planned from the start. And this is how Australia plans to scale the kinds of eco-design you have seen tonight, not just in products but across the whole economy. The task is ambitious, but design gives us the tools to get there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mariano. Thank you so much. We realize here that there are similarities between your countries or between the continents, but there's always a different context, economically, socially, ecologically, so and also from the cultural point of view. So within this context, you all have your best practices. What I find really interesting here is in how could we kind of bring these best practices together or have the benefits of it between China and Mexico and Australia?
Yeah. I think we should know each other, even some dark side or some not good examples. I don't think even in China this system is still under construction. Not so much regulation. So it's just from my side, it's just the vision and scope of the government. But in fact, many, it's not so good. The material collection and even the waste management in the city is not so developed. and the citizens are not so welcome to accept the waste classification system. So I think that in different region, with different cultural economy background, we all have our own problem. So that's why I also want to know and study from your side what's your good experience, maybe some lessons, but we can share our ideas and the wisdoms maybe.
I think my observation is that, for example, that circular economy framework that I have presented, it's voluntary. It's not legislation. It's policy framework that encourages business and industry and government to contribute to improving circularity in Australia. But we don't have legislation in the same way that European Union, for example, has these laws that everybody has to follow. Currently, it's not. It's voluntary, and I guess in terms of comparing to China, for example, where a lot of this the circular economy is state enforced, and therefore almost similar to the way EU has. I mean, it's legislated. And then the main difference, I guess, with Mexico is that from what I can hear from what Brenda is saying, a lot of these are like grassroots innovations and bottom up rather than top down. Also, it's not possible to compare countries per country. For example, China is a very large country, and therefore for a system to work, a solution to work there will be very different compared to a country with a small population like Australia. More than 1 billion people in China, whereas in Australia we only have 25 million. And Mexico is also a large country compared to Australia. So obviously the kinds of eco-design approaches that might happen and the ways of practice in different countries will be different also because of these kinds of realities.
Yes. So that for us as designers and educators, we have to know the spirit and the vision of the government and to try to use our knowledge to push students to study, and sometimes we have to do some practice with industries to even to push them to do some nudge working to implement the green ideas, ecological ideas. But it's still very hard. Yeah, I think the practical side is.
Well, it is a challenge, but it also opens up opportunities. Now, because knowing that this is the positive framework by which we need to operate, I mean, we can use that as design educators to become briefs for the way we teach. Now, for example, I use the example, for example, in France, where when you are dining in a restaurant, you're no longer allowed to sell the meal in disposable containers. They have to be reusable. So that becomes an opportunity. So that kind of legislation makes people redesign the way to solve that problem. I mean, and again, as I said, that is a challenge because we have to change the way we operate, but it's also an opportunity for the better.
That's true. It sounds like we have to grow into this. I mean, between industries, educators, designers, society, the users, we have to actually grow into this together. How's your perspective about this, Brenda, in Mexico? Do people really grow into green design, or is this a very far away concept?
No, I think it's a very known concept, but as Jun and Mariano said, I think that it comes innovation in terms also of a social concept. For example, we know there's green design. There are the regulations. In Mexico, we have lots of regulations. The normativity, I think Mexico is one of the countries that have most of a lot of normativity at local and national level, but the problem comes when it's not applied, or it's very different, like the application of the normativity, as it doesn't work if the social factors are not taken into account. So what Mariano said, it's very interesting, as the innovation in Latin American context is not about in the what kind of material, but it's you have to the system has many irregularities. The inequalities in the social economical levels are not there is a little bit of inequality. No, in Latin America and Mexico, the inequalities are so extreme that the innovation has to come also as the legal basis is there, but it's not working because there are other social problems, bigger and very, very extreme problems coming. The innovation has to come in terms of, how do I go around all the time these ways so that, the collection of this material we can manage, because in the legal and in the strict way it's not going to work. In the formal way it's not going to work, because there are many economical and political hidden agendas and hidden problems that if I am a company and I want to recover some materials, if I want to do it in in the formal way, is not going to work, because there is I wouldn't like to use the word corruption, but that's a reality also, that we have to first having innovative ways of how to tackle and go around the system in order to have a circular process. We would have to undercover many interested behind what it's not working in a linear way. As Mariano said, it's difficult to compare with European context, for example, that it's very clear who manages what materials, this company even has to pay a fee or etc. It's very clear how to follow a process. In Mexico and Latin America countries, it's not clear, and sometimes it's not safe to have also to follow the process, because there are many hidden agendas, and where that material goes, not everybody knows. And it's if you don't know who is behind the management of some plastics or some waste, etc. Because if, for example, in Mexico, if you want to recover one specific material in an important way, you have to first also go behind and go in we still don't, for example, separate garbage, for example. So you have to even try to manage how these people from make a track from the garbage buses, for example. If you are interested in one particular material, you have to give an extra incentive and try to maybe even get into the way of before it goes to the official last station of that material, you have to go before and try to get it and put a lot of extra economical incentive to these people to maybe detour the route. Maybe that person gives me that amount of money if the PET or another polypropylene or another material it's already sold, and another person is interested in this material, I would want a bigger economical incentive, and this is outside the legal framework. So the innovation in this context has to do with how do I solve these processes when the legal, the economical, and political situation is very complicated, as there are other priorities at different social levels. Other people are taking decisions when the regulatory system is not working as sharp or as clear as in other contexts.
So you mentioned rewards and incentives, and I mean it is a difficult tool for behavior change. It's the human condition is always watching it for me. For them to be able to change behavior, there has to be something of benefit to them, whether it's monetary or anything. But and you mentioned that seemed like a socioeconomic thing, like a monetary incentive, for example, is one thing which can change people's behavior. But also, even for developed countries, and even, for example, for Australia, where we're considered a developed country, but things like there's this thing called the awareness action gap, which means that people are very aware that they want to do something. For example, prevent further environmental degradation or prevent climate change, but still the action there's a big difference between what people believe in and what they actually do. And for example, even though people are very aware of climate change issues, for example, most people still drive petrol cars here in Australia. Okay. And again, it's compared to China, there's more electric cars being driven in China than in Australia per capita population. Now, and this is why we need to understand how we can motivate people to steer them and seduce them to behave in a more responsible way, and whether design can steer them in that direction. And hopefully, Ecodesign can give us these tools.
Is this about having a choice? Because, I mean, I found it most interesting, your example about the toilet flush, because that's something that is very common nowadays everywhere in the world. I actually didn't know where it came from in the beginning. So this is a big takeaway for me today. But,
Yeah, that's why I wanted to share it.
Sure. But look, I mean, this is about, because in your country there's lack of water, so it's something that you do for your country, but you don't have a direct benefit in your household or something. It's really something that's for the bigger idea of your life. Okay, so how come this came through? Is it because the government decided that this is the only toilet flushes that will go on the market now, or what happened?
Well, that's way back in 1988, right? In Australia, during summer, we have lots of water restrictions, like you cannot water your garden, you cannot wash your car, all of these. I mean, and when the water supply levels at the dams are very low, there's a lot of water restrictions, and people have to contribute to this to prevent that from happening. So by having this knowledge that, okay, instead of flushing with a full flush, if you can do it with a half flush, then do that. And that will save our dam from getting depleted. So everybody has to contribute, or else everybody suffers.
Okay. So actually makes the people feel better, right?
Oh, yes. I mean, in certain states, for example, in Queensland, they have even worse drier conditions. And they have even stricter water restrictions happening there when there's really no rainfall happening. So we all need to find ways to save, and thankfully design can steer people to behave in a way where they can conserve water in a not so difficult way.
Yeah. I just remember one extreme scene where I visited the Cape Town in 2018. Just in that season, the whole city going to zero of water. Even for in the hotel, in the university campus, nearly all the toilet, they don't have water to flush. That's give my very big surprise. How the country, even the South Africa is located in the next to the ocean. Yeah, but no, why? There are no water to flush, and even the living condition in their area is it's not so good. I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe it's some climate change problem. But I know from some colleagues from CPUT, they were doing some project for the help people to have the good habit of saving water. But I don't know. Just design. I mean, only design perspective maybe cannot solve the problem.
Jun, there are also first world solutions to that. For example, in Australia, we built desalination plants because, Australia is a giant island. It's a continental island. So it's water all around us. However, it's salt water, and we have to convert that into purified water. But that process, is also very energy intensive, and there's all other environmental benefits for that. For example, outside, you get salt water in and then clean water out, or purified water. But then there's also a concentration of very salty water. When you flush that back into the ocean, it also causes imbalance in the oceans because some parts of the ocean will be very salty. So it's always important that when we think of these eco-design solutions, that we always look at the pros and cons of the solution. Because sometimes you think that they are bringing benefits, but for every benefit, we have to make sure that there's more advantage compared to disadvantage.
Yeah, sometimes maybe we need some innovative ways, such as decentralized way of purify the water. Not only the centralized. Just the last month of in Changsha, in my city, one factory, the purification system out of working. That gave a lot of impact to the citizens. So I think in the city, the downtown area, the supply of the purified water is still a big problem in China, in the many cities. Yeah.
Just as with this issue of purified water, I travel around the world a lot, and while I try to avoid, for example, bottled water, in some places you really have to, because I was in Mexico in May, and in Mexico City, you're not. The hotels say don't drink the water from the tap. Okay, so unfortunately, there's that inequality where some places you can have access to tap, drinkable tap water, but in many other places it's not like that, and therefore in those places you have no other choice but consume bottled water.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's also when the innovation has to come in our context in Mexico, as you said. Of course, it's even dangerous to drink water from the kitchen faucet, etc. But also the innovation, if we innovate at the bottle level, okay, I'm going to eco-redesign the bottle. Okay, yeah, and I can change behavior. Okay, but if you go further into the darkest green shade of the design, sustainable design, it won't. Yeah, it will help, but really the problem it's like further. We would have to redesign the complete system of where the water is coming and why there is no water quality in the tubes, etc. From where is the coming and why it's not clean, etc. Redesigning a little bottle is not going to change the real problem. We have to go deeper and deeper. So, okay, I can use recycling, and there are many companies here in Mexico still saying like, oh, now we have a new bottle. Okay, that's really cool. And now we have people like buying lots of these Stanley reusable metallic containers.
It's very similar situation in China. There's a commercial, lots of commercial brand, new brand, and can attract the young people to consume this. This gives them a new experience. But they're not
Exactly.
the real sustainable solution. I think Brenda gave a very good example with the light green to the dark green. It maybe go further sustainable and systematically. That's what we're talking about, the green design, eco-design, and sustainable design.
And also, for example, in this way, we have to move around the light green design, the medium eco-design shade of green, and the dark. Okay, if I want to go into the dark green shade to accomplish a real sustainable solution, sometimes we have also to skip and go to the light green to change behavior and to convince people, okay, maybe in this green design, as if it's impossible to go directly into the real solution, okay, at least I can change a little bit the behavior, and at least to start there and then move a little bit more, because going to a real sustainable solution, we would have to redesign, not only in the design, in the product, in the service level, but even in the political level, and that's key. Where is the role of the design? Okay, I cannot redesign the public politics, but where is the key of the designer role, so that we can, where we can really work, or where is the solution that designer can give, or dialogue, in order to find a way to the real solution that goes like really, really behind, maybe in the political and very deep social, economical level, right?
But what you're referring to, Brenda, is like a lot of solutions, like the green design is like a band-aid, whereas you really need to get to the root of the problem, and that is one approach. But not all the time you can practice it that way. For example, maybe the time that you have to solve the problem, you don't have that much time to make a whole systemic analysis. And therefore, you can only go as far as changing a material, for example, or without having, hopefully that material that replaced the old material has a lot of environmental advantages compared to the others. But you might not have the capacity to change the whole system, for example. And which is why it's good, for example, the EU framework on eco-design, the fact that it is legislated means that companies have to follow that. They have to make sure, for example, that when you manufacture something, that you have the spare parts for that throughout the reasonable life of that product. Okay, so and this is why the political will is always important, and legislation helps a lot in making people behave. I mean, legislation is another behavioral change tool. No, but in your case, before that happens in Mexico, that the political body need to agree and want to have the political will to change.
That's very interesting, and more, as you said, sometimes the political or the legal system makes you change behavior. Okay, I'm going to have like maybe to pay extra, etc., or maybe like a punishment, to say it in a way. But in Mexico, sometimes it's not even that. It's an option. It's optional to go according to the law. Sometimes it's optional. So what will be the incentive in this context where it's optional to cover a norm, a regulation, because you can pay a little bit more and then you can skip that legal quart or whatever. It's okay, it's mandatory, but I can always go around. So where would the incentive be if it's optional to cover this legal framework, right?
One example I use in my teaching as well, Brenda, is the sugar tax in Mexico. It was one of the world's first taxes on, in excessive sugar consumption, and I thought that's going to be a good model. And when I was in Mexico, I can see a lot of packaging. It always has the warning, but high sugar, high sodium, and other. And it's good that at least in terms of packaging design, it has been legislated. You have to inform people this is going to be bad for their health. And therefore, again, it's about giving people the choice.
Exactly. You have the labels there. Even in Mexico, we don't have an eco or green label for the whole product system. But even if we had a label type 1, type 2, or whatever from the whole product system, even if we would have many labels saying, okay, this product really covers and really has a very low impact in the whole life cycle, even if we would have these labels, people say, okay, there's the impact. As you said, there are many products with almost all products like cookies and everything. It has the 3 labels of this product is really bad for your health. It has a lot of sugar. It has, and still people buy them. It's still okay to have the choice, but still is like, well, I'm going to buy it anyway. So even if we would have these eco labels, still people would have to have a little bit a bigger perspective in order to change or have a stronger option according to a decision, right?
Because sometimes it's an economic decision as well, because sometimes these ones with high sugar and high sodium or high fat are actually the most affordable foods for low income people, and therefore they continue to get purchased. Now, fast foods are one example. Sometimes even in Australia is a big problem. That is usually the most affordable meal that a family can afford, and therefore they had no other choice but to consume that. I mean, these things are realities that needs to be considered. And again, just like any design problem, this has to be part of one of our design criteria. How do you find an ingenious solution to steer people away from an undesirable behavior?
Exactly. What you said in the last in my presentation, the last slide also shows what Mariano is saying. For example, there are many little towns, indigenous towns in Mexico that not even drinkable water, not even simple water or contaminated water, it doesn't reach those little towns. But Coke does arrive. That maybe they don't have access to water, but they have access to Coca-Cola. So, for example, it's the only option they have. Why these people have so much diabetes and obesity problems? And well, because that's the only choice and option sometimes they have, right? So, okay, maybe, yeah, we can have these ecological solutions, etc. But when there are other priorities, and the options they have in this context are very, very little, they are going to go to whatever they have at hand, or whatever they are even going to give the basic level, right?
So speaking about the development of green design and product eco-design in 3 different parts of the world has hopefully helped to start some thinking and to give a better understanding to our audience. We see that there are challenges and opportunities. I want to end today's session by announcing the topic of our upcoming podcast. Next month, we will speak about emotionally durable design. Thank you very much to all of you, and goodbye.
Dear audience,
This has been one episode of our podcast series T.time on Design for Sustainability. Follow us and subscribe for more episodes on your favorite podcast platform. You'll find all announcements on social media. Use T-time in your search engine.